connecting our people right here in Trinidad and Tobago and around the world. Is Power 102 Digital. The future of talk is here. Power 102 Digital.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Hard Talk Power 102 Digital Wednesday. Today, our host is Farid Ali, and we're talking panorama. Of course, we got a special guest on the program today, and allow Farid to introduce his special guest. And we have another guest coming in at 5 o'clock. So stay tuned. Farid, good afternoon, my brother, and Mr. Tanyuk, Dr. Tanyuk, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, David. How are you?
I'm good. I'm always good. Panorama is in the air. I'm better. Going fast is good.
I'm hoping that we have no audio interferences here today.
We have a bit of feedback. Maybe we can take down one of the microphones that we use. We have a feedback coming into the studio. You can just lower the volume.
Let me see if I can adjust that.
Just take down the volume levels.
I would have to step out
Okay,
of the frame.
it sounds good now. Let's see what's happening now. It sounds good now.
All right. So today to the listening public, today we tuning in to All Stars Spaniard. We are interviewing the Trinidad All Stars Steel Orchestra. The dialogue is supposed to be, if all things worked evenly, with Professor Leon Smooth Edwards. The public would have the benefit of his voice this afternoon. He's a bit late, if I may put it that way. He's stuck in some traffic. So we have no other than the public relations officer of All Stars.
I'm still getting the feedback for it. I don't know. Maybe you can just lower your microphone a little bit. I'll take it up on the studio here.
Does that help? Is it any better now?
I'm still getting it, but it's a bit better.
I'm going to
take
off my camera and my volume a bit and adjust the other one.
Okay. You're standing by. So, folks, we are chatting with the representative of the Massey Trinidad All Stars, and for Panorama 2024, they are doing Olatunji's Inventor. So it's a bomb of a arrangement for Panorama 2024. I tell you, it can cause some upsets in Panorama for 2024. I don't want to sound biased, but I'm a lover of the steel pan. I'm a lover of the bands that showcase their talents across the globe, like All Stars and Renegades and Desperados and Phase 2 and Invaders. These bands are the top bands in Trinidad and Tobago, Exodus, Steel Orchestra, etc., etc. But we have on the set with us Farid's guest, a representative. Is it the PRO you said of All Stars?
Yes, please, David. Today we have, as I indicated to the listening public, we should have Professor Leon Smooth Edwards, who will be joining us shortly. But in the interim, we're carrying a conversation with the public relations officer for Trinidad All Stars Steel Orchestra, Stacey and Patrick. So I want to welcome Dr. Richard Tanyuk. Dr. Tanyuk, we have somewhat of a unique circumstances this afternoon, but we're working through it. Professor Edwards is running a bit late, but we have the benefit of speaking with the PRO for Trinidad All Stars Steel Orchestra in the interim. And we should be able to that should take us into 5 o'clock. Thereafter, for the listening public, we would be hearing from the Desperado Steel Orchestra and their arranger, Carlton Zander Alexander. Good afternoon, Dr. Tanyuk. How are you?
I am great. How are you, Miss Patrick?
Well, Dr. Tanyuk, I'm fine. How are you? Lovely to see you. Oh, look who's here. It's nice to see you after all these years.
Yes. I would like, Fareed, if it's okay, I would like to ask Miss Patrick a question.
Yeah. I have no issue with that. What I could say is that Professor Edwards just walked in, so he's practically here. So he can perhaps share this space with his PRO, and we can see how we can navigate both of them. But we have the benefit of Dr. Edwards with us at this time. I'll take the opportunity to say good afternoon, Dr. Edwards. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So nice to have you.
I hope you all get some good stuff.
So I have a question for Miss Patrick. And,
I'm not
you
hearing
know,
you. Somebody's
can you hear me?
We're hearing you now.
You're hearing me? Okay, good. So I have a question for you, and that is, when I was last at the All Star Spaniard, I came at the invitation of Mia Gomendi, who I know works with your band, and her husband works with the youth band, and I was so impressed with what you're doing for education and promoting younger band players who are coming up. So if you could explain to our listening audience what you're doing, what is All Stars doing, particularly outside of the panorama, to train this next generation of young players.
So I would say that within the last 20 years, we've had a number of students who have attended school and gotten at least bachelor's degrees in some form of music or music and business. So they've now been able to come back to the yard and relate to the younger students in a more academic way, as opposed to how the older generation would have learned how to play pan. Um, Further to that, we've established an academy, and through that academy, the academy is divided into three different areas. So young children, 5 and above, can come a couple of days a week and learn how to read music and how to, with the steel pan as their main instrument. We also have extended that to teenagers and young adults. And then, as you know, Dr. Tanya, there was a time where some people, if they told their parents that they wanted to play pan, they will be told, no, you have to go and learn to play another instrument, the recorder or the, having spoken from experience, the piano or something else. So those persons who have now fallen in love with pan can actually register with Trinidad All Stars and learn how to play pan. The semester or the course section is 8 to 10 weeks at any given time. So we've just completed a full year.
That's so wonderful. It's so exciting to hear about all of this. And could you tell us, I know that Dr. Janine Teef is in Trinidad from the University of Illinois, I think it is. Oh, Kent University in the US. Is she associated with Massey All Stars?
No, not at this time. No.
Okay. Well, I know she's working with UTT for the spring semester. I think she's heavily involved, but I didn't know which band she was involved with. And I also heard just yesterday that All Stars is actually playing a joint concert with the Marina Chorale in July. Can you tell the public a little bit about that?
They haven't shared all of that information with me, but I do understand that it is a fundraiser and that they are looking forward to that particular experience because it allows the continuity of those persons, the youth steel orchestra, as well as some persons from the senior stage side to continue playing and focusing on something that is in the future. Because we want them to keep on coming to the Palm Theatre and to the yard. So every time we have a big concert coming up, they're able to really focus their energies in this space.
Okay, great. Thank you. Professor Edwards, it's so great to
Yes,
see
sir.
you.
I'm now hearing you clearly.
Yeah.
Before I was
Okay.
getting a static.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. I know you're a very busy person. So, how is the experience going so far for Panorama 2024?
I think it's a very nice and interesting period. You know, the starting from when a few or a sizable portion of the membership liked another piece, you know, and you saw a little disgruntlement when I chose this piece, and it was so invigorating to see that the media change when they start hearing what the tune had to offer. You know, so right now, I believe we are all on the same page now, and it's a good time. Whenever the band is on a good page, it's a time when you could expect um, anything your heart desire.
Right.
All
So
right,
that,
you know the proverb: a house divided can't stand. So once we are united, it's a nice time for the band.
I think Professor is being humble. I think he's being very humble. The atmosphere in the yard is joyful. It is light. Yes, we are a family. So with a family, there will always be some level of
Friction.
tension and friction from time to time. But we're full of love and full of forgiveness. And this week, people are focused. They're determined to give of their best, because at the end of the day, what starts is about music and entertainment and ensuring that people, and I think year after year, people are really beginning to understand the complexity of the instrument and really how beautiful it is. When last night the drill master had us playing the music very soft, at the softest level, and you could actually look out to the crowd and you can see the individuals' faces understanding the music and hearing the voice of the singer coming through the music. To me, that's the best gift that somebody could give a pianist.
right. So, Dr. Edwards, I want to follow up on something you said, because you mentioned a couple minutes ago that when you first chose this piece, not everybody was so keen on it, right? And I wondered if you could expound on that a little bit, because I've experienced well, because they may not be familiar with it, or because they don't know what your vision is, they may not appreciate it immediately. But then what tends to happen more often than not is once they get to know it, they fall in love with it, and they think this is the most fantastic thing. If you could speak to that a little bit.
Well, listen. This is not something that is unique to this year. We have different likes and dislikes. So, from my experience, every year you would find a portion of the band like X, some like Y, and you cannot please everybody. If you try to please everybody, you would end up playing a medley. So there comes a time when when the person who is in the fire in the fire, who has the job of thinking, has to make a choice, and no way an arranger could please everyone, because we are not, although we are the same in some aspects, we have different tastes. Some people like yellow, some like green, some like blue. Unless they want to paint a psychedelic house, the owner has to decide what colors he put in his room in. So it's something that we go through regularly, and I guess in any organization there would be differences of opinions, but at the end of the day, the person who earmarked to meet or to face, somebody have to, you can't go there helter-skelter, so it must be, and it's only a matter of time before everybody encroaches around the final decision. And it's nothing against or nothing to say that there's friction, but that's how we are. Everyone has different likes and dislikes, and preferences. So it's just a matter of that, But in an organization like this, you would find some people may be a bit vocal. Some people may try to encourage others to like it their way and so on, and you may find little cliques or little fractions growing up. But at the end of the day, once the decision is made, you see we all come together and rally around the decision of the organization, and it was that I was trying to tell you in a nutshell. Didn't mean to infer that there was anything untoward, it's just, I was just showing you how the tune moved from being one with varying, everybody feel there's the law in their own eyes, they feel their way is the right way, but thank God that common sense prevails, and it worked out this year that everybody can raise their hand and smile a lot and be supportive to the best of their ability, going in one accord. So that's where we are now. We're ready for the battle.
Thank you so much.
Professor Edwards.
Yes, sir.
I don't think anyone can question no one can question your credentials. You've won 11. You've won 9 Panorama titles as an arranger. All Stars have won 11 in total. When I examine the track record, the CV of Trinidad All Stars, it's 11 Panorama victories, 11 second places, 7 third places. You've been there since 1976, if it is my detail is correct, in terms of my research.
Yeah,
that makes you the most senior arranger.
But I was just in 1968 as a member.
Yeah. So my question is this. You would have been the arranger of some of the Panorama classics through the years. The case in point would be Woman on the Bass. That is almost like an anthem of Panorama classic music. My question is this. What is your view and your opinion on the tune of choices that are available to arrangers like yourself in the current dispensation? Meaning, in previous years, you'd have had the benefit of Kitchener and his music, you'd have had the benefit of the Fosto and his music, you'd have had the benefit of so many singers, Calypsonian artists, who would perform music that one may even go so far to say suited to a Panorama arrangement. Are you of the view that you have the benefit of repertoire of music out there that you can work with on a day-to-day basis, work with easily in this current climate?
Well, I'm from the old school, as you just mentioned. Over 40 years. Woman on the Bass is 44 years this year. It was 1980, right? And I grew up in a tradition of Kitchener, Sparrow, Duke. These guys, those oldest guys who had some real, what they would call popular and natural songs, right? Shadow and those guys. Nevertheless, it zoomed in to the point where history showed that one or two Calypsonians, more specifically Kitchener, and Sparrow were the ones whose tunes made it to #1 in the Panorama Arena. So over the years, you find most of the bands who more or less study history and see what was taking place, follow the trend, gravitated to choosing a Sparrow or a Kitchener to go Panorama with, because those were the tunes that made it to the final night. Along the way, there were people like Crazy and Shadow tunes, what they would call strange tunes that some of the bands played, and like going down the drag preliminary, they used to have the most amount of following and the most amount of popularity and so on. But when the big night came, only Kitchener and Sparrow seemed to make it and be successful. So going back to 1980, when we chose Woman of the Bass as a party tune, because we knew it was either Kitchener or Sparrow. And I remember stopping the band about 2 or 3 times and lecture to the band and say, listen, Woman on the Bass is a party tune. It's for party, not for Panorama. I gave them the whole history, pleaded with them. But what happened? We were Henry Street first when I joined the band in 1968. Then 1970, we went down to St. Vincent Street in the industrial area, right? In those days, we didn't have the benefits of being in a residential area. So you find we basically got a residue of players, apart from the die-hard members who in the band in the 60s, when the band was in the residential area on Charlotte Street in the club, and then Henry Street when we got our own place, the second spot. The majority of our band, well, a sizable portion of our band were people who lived out of the area, Mova, San Fernando, wherever, but they were working in town. And they were people who, when it was age for them to join steel bands, it was coming in, it's around the time after the set of clashes the steel bands had, like in the 60s. I think there was a steel band clash in 65, if I'm mistaken, between Tokyo and Invaders, you know. So our parents, people's parents, the youth's parents at those times, sort of try to keep their kids out of the steel band area because people were getting chopped, people were getting busted and so on, right? So when we moved now to the residential area from the industrial area in St. Vincent Street to where we are now, we found ourselves with a lot of people from Southeast Port of Spain School, Belmont Intermediate. The yard was overrun by youth, and they had their own mindset. It didn't matter how much I pleaded with them, don't take, because what happened, 1980 was the time steel band started getting a lot of feds again. We were, before 1980, we were sort of sidelined, because the only people who were getting fed were the brass bands and so on. And I think there was a small traveling side who were amplified, right? So people were sidelining the steel bands. But then in 1980, one of those people in the recording business came up with an idea how you could get bands back in fit by amplifying us and so on, right? In order to bring the roadside, the whole band into that mindset, we told the members, listen, there will be times when the band has 2 fets a night, and the state side would not be able to provide services for those 2 fets. We would need the services of the roadmen. who at those times just came to learn the Panama tune and the bum tune, right? Everything else depended on the state side. And in order to encourage them, I told them, you know what? I'd give you all a chance to become part of the selection team if you would learn all the songs instead of just the bum and the Panama tune. So we get the whole band entitled. So when it was time now for them to select the tune, we saw this great movement pointing towards Woman on the Bass by the youth. And you know the youths are very powerful. They're sweating and they're kind on when the band plays Woman on the Bass, when they're running down the song. Just a tune, they just, you know, because they were really accustomed to Kitchen Sparrow. The music was changing from Kitchen Sparrow. And that's where we ended up being by deciding to let the members vote for the tune in order, as reward for them learning the whole selection of tunes that the stateside learned for the feds, right? And we had a hard time. When we said, I'm going to count 4, and he would play the tune because, you know, and not only I'm going to play the tune, everybody got to learn all the tunes because when I started tune, it will be a continuation of one of the songs. And then it come 2, 3, 4, and they hear a little grumble because there were some older fellas who understood what the deal was. But after about 2 bars, Woman on the Bass prevailed. And that's how, you know. And after that breakthrough, the second year, 1981, you find other bands moved away from Kitchen Sparrow and start doing, some of them even do Scrunter's second tune the next year, Crapper Revolution or some kind of thing, you know. But it was a transition that had to take place, you know, because people gravitate to what is popular. And in those days, Kitchen Sparrow were the forerunners. You know? So that's the history of All Stars Children's Show.
It seems All Stars were a trendsetter from very early. All Stars was a trendsetter from very early. They helped break the back of that mold.
Yeah, well, we were a trendsetter from the days of Neville Juice, where his bass, his style of bass, you know, we used to have thousands of sailors in those days, and you would hear the bass, the people in the back, way down the road, used to jump to the sound of the bass. Boom, boom, boom. All Stars had that bass, that boom, you know, boom, 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 boom. You know, a sort of melodious bass, you know, instead of being an accompaniment, sort of melodious. And we were setting a tradition with the bass work from even in those days, the Juice era. Today, you would find All Stars bass different to other bands. That was something we have the tradition of.
In keeping with
bass, setting standard with our. Yeah.
In keeping with what you're saying, there's a certain theater aspect. There's a theater aspect to All Stars performances. You know, it was said by Edwin Pusher that people don't come to listen to Panorama; they come to watch Panorama, to see Panorama.
See you perform.
And in All Stars performances, when you look at your players, you all actually, it's not just about playing music, but it's a certain theater to how you all conduct the orchestra. That in itself was a trend-setting, you know, avenue that All Stars opened for everyone else. Now we see so many other bands following in the same format, the same blueprint. Was that your initiative?
Now that's something came from Jerry Jemmett, our classical. We used to call him Uncle Jer. Now his average age was about 20 years older than the members of the band, right? He had children our age. You understand? And he was a member of the police band, and he had this vision that you're playing beautiful music, but it's standing up like statue. Dance. So he encouraged us to dance. He would even hecklers. You know, he would call you all kind of names to get you to dance and so on. And in those days, we listened to the elders, you know, and he was the man behind our performance venture, you know. But we were like other bands, just stiff stand up playing sweet, sweet music and stand up playing. And he being not a pan man, but you know, a conventional instrumentalist, reading music, studied in England and all of that. He realized something was missing, and he cajoled us into moving, you know, and to the point that if you're not moving enough, he put you on the north stand side. You know, the side in the bright lights in the grandstand. You qualify to be there by your by your adaptation to what he wanted, you know. So it started from him, from this outsider, you have to say. He didn't grow up playing pan like Neville Jules or any of us. He came from the theory era, you know, and he just injected that what he saw as a, when you say an outsider, that was lacking and was missing.
Yeah.
But it's now a requirement because when I joined All Stars, I was stiff. I'm still not as nimble as most people. But you know, if you don't let the music live through you, then really all you're doing is repeating. The more that you're able to move with the music, then you understand, you're better able to interpret. And once you can interpret it, then you can relay that back to the listening public, which is very important for the performance night, particularly, but even before, because it shows that you know what you're talking about. You're not just repeating something that somebody has asked you to do, and that really is how we're getting people to understand that steel pan is an instrument of width and an instrument that can allow our people to express themselves. You know, you listen to somebody talk sometimes and they can't say a fluid sentence, but you see that same person play the pan, and it is absolutely incredible to see how they're able to express themselves.
In addition to which, as the older guys teach the younger ones how to play, they would get them to adapt certain postures we learned over the years, you know, like how we stand feet apart as opposed to like if you're in the army, you know, certain things we realize they get better, better justice, you know, because if you stand a particular way, if you play music from your elbow, it makes a difference to if you play it from your wrist. Playing from your elbow is like if you want to dig dirt. You know, you don't want all that force. You want, you know, so we and things like that. We get them to do certain things from what we learned were giving you the best results, you know. And so in other words, the role to sustain a note, if you don't utilize certain flexibility in your members, in your members of your body, you don't get. If you go to play a pan show, you see how stiff that could be, as opposed to this nimbleness, you know, things like that. You know, if you stand too rigid, you come like a robot as opposed to, you know, and so experience has showed that people who were playing in time, who were accurate, who were precise, we recognize they were a little more limber, you know, and you know, we learn from experiences, you know, and we're able to pass on those experiences. So we find, yeah, Dr. Tanyuk, you have been my neighbor for so long, and this is the first time I'm seeing you. I live Jackson Hill, just about 2 blocks from Charlotte Street.
Oh.
And I even had a member of my band was working with you at one time, you know.
Who is that?
I never know who you were. When I go into the store, I didn't see you. I see
Well,
your clothes.
Well,
I'm happy to see you for the first time.
Well, you know, I passed your panyard every single day when I was going to school. And going from school to piano lessons, my first piano teacher was on Charlotte Street. So every day I passed your panyard. So I have a question for you, Professor Edwards. And so you've been in this business for decades. You have a great track record. If you had to advise this younger generation of arrangers, what words of wisdom would you share with them?
Well, it begins with listening. You must know where you came from to decide where you want to go, or where you're headed. You know, you just don't come out of the blue and be you got to see what the trends are and think. I learned things from listening to the bands and think, well, to start with, before I was even in a band, I can remember when I was like single digits, 8, 9, 10, somebody would ask me, what do you want for Christmas? And we are members, other members of the fraternity of the neighborhood would say, they want a gun, they want a football. I would always ask for a motor gun or a xylophone, you know. That was the mindset I had as far back as I can remember growing up, you know. And there was one thing I observed that helped me. I was practicing to do counterpoint even before I knew what counterpoint was. There was that if I am in alignment with the other members of the neighborhood, and a new song comes out, all of us heard it the first time it came out, whether it was on Dave Elcock show or this other guy who was at the other station, Phil Simmons. You know, every Saturday morning they listen to the thing. And I would hear people singing this song and say, well, how will I know these songs? And I used to figure, I had a deficit, I can't remember song. It's only after a while I realized why I wasn't learning the melody of the song. I couldn't repeat it after thing. What I realized I was doing, when a song was played, and I heard it for the first time, I used to be humming either a bass or a melody to the song or something. I was so concentrated on doing my own arrangement, doing a counterpoint to the melody, that I didn't know it was preparations for future. So the point now, All Stars is very good at having counter melodies going on all the time, you know, instead of just concentrating on burst and accompaniment. You know, we doing it like, and as you listen to the classics, we grew up playing classics, you find there was a lot of linear work, you know, this line, you know, so that's how we do it now. As opposed to study, instead of this way, we're going this way, parallel, you know.
Yeah. Could just for our listening audience, could you just explain to them, when you say counterpoint, I know what you mean, but maybe some of our listeners don't understand that term. Explain to them what you mean by counterpoint in music.
Well, it's a matter of two melodies going on at the same time, two different melodies, but they're complementing each other. Right. You know, so you'll find a lot of that in our band.
A lot of it.
The melody tenors will be playing something. Yeah. The other section will be playing something, and even the bass will be playing something. As most bands' basses, you know, bam, 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 you know, root. You'll find our bass has a melody. Bam, bam, bim, bim, boom, boom, bam, bam. You know, neighboring notes, extensions, you know, in the form of a melody, a counter melody to the original melody.
Thank you for explaining that.
I don't know how you all seen it down there.
Sorry?
Oh, we hear it. Are you hearing us right through?
Yeah.
I'm hearing you clearly. All is well.
Okay.
Allow me to ask
what
this.
else you want to know?
What is your view on the current crop of arrangers and their music? Do you think that the music is changing as we speak in terms of the Duvon Stewarts, Sion Gomez, and the Dante Panton? there's a new crop of arrangers. It's not like in the old days when it's yourself, Bradley, Jit Samaru, and each year it's just 3 contenders. There's a host of arrangers now. I'm seeing that we have Kirsch Ramsey, OJ working with him, right? There's Duvon, who's the reigning Panorama champion. There is Dante Pantin with Stalif, Sion Gomez with Buccaneers, Aden Herbert with Invaders. What is your view in terms of this current crop of arrangers? Do you think it's healthy?
Do I think it's healthy for? I didn't hear the end of your sentence.
Are you there? I think we had a small connectivity issue. Right.
Right.
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
That's why I didn't hear the end of your sentence. What did you ask me? Do I see something?
Right. I was simply asking, do you? Right. I'm simply asking, this current crop of arrangers, the Aden Herberts, Duvon Stewart, Kirsch Ramsey, OJ, Dante Pantin, how do you feel about the transition? We have these new arrangers with new ideas. Do you think the music is changing? And what is your view on where things stand now? The competition generally, meaning the transition from persons like yourself into a younger generation.
Well, it may appear as though what happened, the structure that Kitchen Sparrow had are there no more. We are living in the age where somebody would come with a track and you'd find about 8 songs played with that one track. The track don't even have a proper progression. It just about 3 or 4 notes. So you find people like Nyla and Patrice, everybody on a track now. Whereas before, in our days, the older guys, they were on tracks that had progressions, right? Constructive progressions where you can have passing chords, substitute chords, and so on. But now everything is one track. And they are creative enough, these Calypsonians, to get different melodies coming onto these tracks. And it's limiting. It's different than what we were accustomed to, but like everything else, you have to learn to adapt. And this is what these younger arrangers are getting now. These are the songs that people gravitate towards during party time. And so in order to please the people who go in party, you find these younger arrangers doing these tunes were built from tracks, as opposed to tunes that were built from a nice melody and spend time harmonizing it. So the music is a little simpler. Some people may say it's a little cheaper as opposed to what was there in Kitchen Sparrow's time. And I mean, that is what we grew up on in Kitchen Sparrow. They were just about 20 years or 15 to 20 years older than people like myself and,
So, Professor Edwards, I just want to follow up on that comment. You talked about, introducing passing chords, and I'm sure when you're reharmonizing, there are all sorts of other sophisticated harmonizations of the original tune. How much of this is actually explained to the band members? Like, let's say you have a 9th chord. Are you explaining to them, okay, this is a 9th chord, a dominant 9th chord? Or are we just teaching it by rote and they don't understand the concept of how the whole harmonic progression is structured? What is the general process in All Stars?
Well, if you're not a pianist like Bradley, who had the opportunity to use his 10 fingers to play a chord, as opposed to the pan man who had 2 sticks. You would find when a pianist tries to play like a major 7th. So you have C, major 7th is B. Other pan men, his age, young like him, which you give a section like you want to play a major 7th, you have the bass and C, you have some section with a B, so you have somebody playing G and B. Some pan man, I don't want to use the word literary, some pan man may not have been when in a C chord. He would come and see another member who he feels is better than playing G and B. He would change that B to G and C and say, this man playing a wrong chord. He playing wrong notes, because he only know the 3 notes chord, C, E, G, right? So it's the internet giving another trouble.
Yeah, we lost you there for a bit, but yeah. So you were saying
Yeah, I
that
lost you too. These
You were
are
saying-
some of the struggles the man in the street arrangers who didn't have the benefit of a keyboard, who just had 2 sticks, and his limited knowledge that a chord was 3 notes, 1, 3, 5. Once they started realizing there were extensions available and they started employing it, other members who grew up like him using 3-note chord would change the thing, thinking it was a wrong note,
right.
So that was some of the thing, the man in the street arrangers, people who grew up in a band, who didn't go college to learn music, who just, even people like Jews and so on. Those are some of the things they had, so they just stick with the 3-note chord. They knew nothing about altered chord, the sharp 5 and the flat 9s and all that,
Yeah.
And they too would probably marvel at how Bradley would be playing a certain chord, but have a certain note that's not supposed to be the chord, and yet it was sounding so nice, because he had the benefit of, to have the supported notes, the 7ths and so on, to bridge that gap to what may have sounded dissonant to the average pan man, the song pleasing to the ear by the compilation of the notes he used.
During Panorama season, we might not have enough time to explain what the reharmonization and harmonization is, but through the academy, they do teach you some of the things about how the chords can be managed differently, and then why you can't play 2 notes at the same time and another person play 2 different notes to get one fluid sound. I would say though that in our learning experience for Panorama, Smooth is the kind of arranger, and even our drill masters and the rest of the music team, we could actually say, but this not sounding this way. Maybe we could do it this way because the bass is playing this. So,
oh boy, we lost them there completely now. Okay, we're back on. Yeah.
do we always know what the correct musical terms are? Maybe not. But I think that people intuitively understand the conversation that is being stretched across the breadth and width of the orchestra.
Great, thank you for explaining that. So through the academy, you're actually educating the younger generation about music theory.
Yeah.
And they understand more.
They are registered for the exam.
Yeah.
And we don't only stop at the younger generation. We go to the people who didn't have an opportunity when they were growing up. So we have people in their 50s learning to play pan for the first time in the academy.
Yes.
We cater for all ages. Those who were in their days growing up as a child, pan was a taboo. Pan was a bad place to be. They're now getting the opportunity to learn it at 50 and 60.
So that's kind of like me. Because when I wanted to play piano at 9 years old, my father went and bought a piano and took lessons with me for a year.
So you raise, Miss Patrick, you raise a very
So you see the
interesting.
gap we are filling by this academy?
Miss Patrick, you raise a very interesting.
Go ahead, sorry.
So I want to ask you both as musicians, if a young person is playing music, whether it's pan, violin, and the parent says, "Nah, I don't want you to go in. That is supposed to be a career." What would you say?
I think that we need to start. I think parents are evolving, and I think if a child tells their parents, I want to do something, parents should allow for that action to happen. But maybe what the parent should do is say, I will give you 3 months at this or 4 months at this, and if you are not committed as I am by investing in this, then we'll have to have a different story. But I know in my own family, as I said, my dad took piano lessons with me, and I would go grudgingly to Mrs. Zephyrin every other day, play duets, go and play for music festival. But because it was not the instrument that I chose, if they had allowed me to play pan at that age, I may have been a different kind of musician. But also, I might have been an arranger too. But I do know this though, Dr. Tanya, and the professor knows how much my parents are involved. My father wakes up every morning, and I stay by them during the carnival season. And he will ask me questions about what school did last night, what they think about this. It allows, when you are pursuing your passion, it's so much easier to have conversations with people because you always keep it interesting. I will always be thankful for this opportunity because it gives my father one more reason to have a conversation with me. They picked today. I mean, he knew before I knew what we were playing. What position we're playing in.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. You're a product of Miss Zephyrin.
Yes, I am.
I know.
I know how to put the dust on the keys and make sure.
Yeah. She would hear a wrong note from the kitchen, right? G sharp.
Yes. she would, and she was very strict, and you never wanted to disappoint her. You wanted to be able to do exactly what she said. And I don't know that I always gave her the best of what she gave to me.
Marie, do we have time for another
Professor
question?
Edwards. I was looking at the results. When I looked at the preliminaries, Exodus were on 278 points, and yourself and Renegades were tied at 274. And when I reference that to what transpired in the semi-final round, Renegades scored 282 points, and yourself 281 points. So it's just a point separating the semi-finalists in first and second place. Now, I'm saying all of that to say that you points margin in order to bridge that gap between yourself and Exodus in the preliminaries. What is your view in terms of judging a band in its yard? Sometimes it is said that the acoustics in a band's yard, it's different from when you have to play in the savannah. It's clear that Exodus judging in their yard may have contributed to how they may sound when you all are placed one stage at the savannah. What is your view on that change, where bands are being judged in the preliminary rounds at their?
Well, you got to remember too that they are judged on different nights. One was the East. The East were one night, the North one night, Tobago one night, the South one night. So the mood the judge could be in a particular night may have contributed to the marks they gave. But the best way to judge Panama is when all on the same stage, same arena, right? In addition to which, some people's Spaniards are more suited to give you a powerful song, a balanced song, the way it bounces off from the back, and some people may be more in the open, so they get a lighter song. So a lot of things contribute to the venue. So one person winning in one zone over another, it may not be the accurate yardstick to determine the true winner. But when we are on the same stage, close to each other, 1 to 10, there's a difference in, well, you get a better assessment.
Right.
Yes? I hope
You performing in position number 10 in the final, which is, how do you feel about having to perform for the judges in position number 10 in the final, on the final night?
Well, let me tell you what happened to me last year. Between band 1 and 6, All Stars was on top from 1 to 6. And then from band 7 to, I think it was 12, last year, all of them from 7 to 12 beat the one who was the winner, beat all who were there from 1 to 6. So sometimes position helps, right? It doesn't mean to say you cannot play at 1 and win. We have done that more than once. Other bands has done it too. I've done it too, right? But sometimes your draw helps tremendously in determining where you end up. Because probably, and I'm not sure, there may be a break between the first half of the bands and the second half. I don't know. Or it could be a case of some bands stayed so long to get on stage that the mindset of the judges may have wavered or kind of came out of the zone they were in for. Or they may have been taking a drink in between, that their minds are a little more relaxed coming down to the end, that what didn't sound good in the first half when they were sober, and I'm not saying the judges are alcoholics, but I'm just trying to come up with some reasons why that's Spanish. You're talking from like when the thing starts at 7, and sometimes the last band don't play till 12 o'clock or after midnight. You're talking about 5 hours judging. You could get tired after a while. After a while, everything could just sound bland, so the judges do have a great task trying to maintain their composure and their focus to give an accurate assessment of who they hear from 1 to 12. It's 5 hours worth of music. You understand? So you gotta be understanding of the process, and probably pray so that when your time comes to play, they will hear what you truly have and be impacted by it to make a difference. Yes?
Bradley is credited with saying, Clive Bradley once said that drilling a band is 20% drilling and 80% managing the personalities in the band, because it's 100 players. What is your view in terms of managing 100 players and in relation to drilling that band? Because if it is, Bradley's theory is correct, it's 20% drilling and 80% managing personalities. That's a lot of personalities and a lot of energy and a lot of input by persons like yourself to get the best on the night. The same way the judges may be tired after 5 hours. When you practice all night until 2 in the morning, starting at 8 o'clock, it's equally as punishing.
Yeah, that could be true. I was about to say something, and just slip out of what I was going to answer. But
But yeah,
you remember the panelists, the people who play now, come from varying backgrounds. Some of them may be school kids. Some of them may be coming from a hard day's work. Some of them may be coming from homes that have some problems. So when all of these people come together, the output you're getting from them can be so varied. It takes considerable time for a driller to kind of bring everybody on the same page where they could play in one accord to get what they need to get at that point of time. So it may take a lot of skill and experience to gather these people together to give you the song they really do need, considering the situation people coming from, which could be very, stressful, tired, and that's where the driller comes in. And now a driller could frustrate somebody too, depending on how meticulous he wants to be. If he wants to make sure 100% play precise, the people who have it after the first 5 minutes can get bored and fed up playing this thing 70 times before it finally gels. So you find a lot of anger maybe coming out from some people frustrated by the length of time. The band to really think that you gotta know when to change from trying to get a particular line and then play the whole tune or play a sizable portion of the tune to break that frustration that people could get. Some people could get. Some people could do something in twice. They play it twice and they have it and they're ready to go. Some people may need 10 times. And the driller has to be tactical enough to bring all these different things together to utilize, to get the best out of the time he has to work with, without frustration and without people want to take a drink, people sitting down, because they don't know where they started from, what they had, what day they had during the work hours. Somebody has a low battery.
Yeah, so Professor Edwards, it's interesting that you talk about this process of learning and the speed of learning of the members. So, of course, I hear exactly what you're saying. Some people will hear it twice, play it twice, and it's perfect. Other people hear it 15 times, and they're still not getting the exact rhythm if it's a complicated rhythm.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with teaching in a classroom. Some people will get it immediately and others will not. So obviously there has to be a balance. You can't go at the pace of the slowest person, but you can't go at the pace of the fastest person because they're probably in the minority. So how does that impact the attendance at rehearsal? Do the people who can learn it in one hearing say, well, I don't need to come today because you know what, I will pick that up tomorrow, because let them learn it. How does that impact the attendance?
I don't think that attendance is much of a challenge for us in most weeks. People do come out. Smooth was correct in saying we are a diverse population. But I think what makes All Stars successful is that we have a huge amount of respect for each other. And for the majority of time in the yard, most people are on a level playing field. We come into the yard knowing this is what the objective is. And come hell or high water, we are going to achieve this objective. So for instance, I am one of those persons that, I could hear it and I could probably get it slow the first or second time. But once I start to speed up, it takes me a longer time to get to that speed. So people may even be kept back because I have to learn something. But there's this genuine interest in people succeeding. You know, we understand to the 10th point what it means to succeed and succeed together. That is not something that is put on by members of Trinidad All-Stars. There is a genuine appreciation for success. We're competitive, but that competition does not allow us to be disrespectful. And if there comes a time where we have to say to someone, okay, we need to kind of put you in another area, then we have that capacity to say to people, maybe you need to do this year. But even with that, those people that are, and I'll give you my own personal story. There was a year that I didn't get picked for prelims, but I came out, you know, the afternoon, I had put out the pans, and as the day would have brought it, one person on the team fell ill, and I got to play. When you hear those stories from other people, people don't give up. We don't give up until it's over.
Right. Wonderful. That's wonderful to hear. You know, the late Pat Bishop used to say, all of us in this together, everybody have to cross the finish line. And some people we might have to carry, but we don't win until everybody cross that finish line.
I think that's a true statement for members of Trinidad All-Stars as well.
All right, I see our competitors, our colleagues, our neighbors
Hi, guys.
are ready to go. Are Desperados also?
Your rivals. Rivals.
Yeah.
Friendly rivals.
Yeah, we in this thing together.
Yes.
Professor Edwards, I want to thank you for making yourself available to us. It's been really good chatting with you and hearing some of your views. It's a pleasure to be here. No, you made up for that with staying on extra time. So thank you so much.
Right.
Thank you so much.
And all the best.
We can have another
After
conversation.
all these late nights, when you hit the sack, it's hard to get up, you know.
From
right,
Paul, I want to wish you all the best to the Massey Trinidad
All
All-Stars.
right.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you. Have a happy carnival.
All right, take care. Bye.
Okay, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Free.
Richard, I'm going to change positions. Desperado Steel Orchestra, you can put on your audio and video if you can.
Yes.
We have today Mr. Curtis Edwards, the drill master for Desperado Steel Orchestra, joining us at this time. And we'll have good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's good. It's good to see you all. We want to welcome Desperado Steel Orchestra to our set. I know that we had some little small changing the battle difficulties there in terms of getting your arranger to be present, but we have Mr. Curtis Edwards at this time, and I'm sure when Xander, as we call him, when he arrives, he could simply exchange positions, and we can have a threesome of the three of you all and him. But in the interim, thank you so much, Mr. Edwards. Thank you for making yourself available this afternoon. Tell us something about how things are progressing at the yard with your band in terms of your preparations for the final on Sunday.
Well, as the near the steel band, we are on course doing the final touches, doing the putting the icing and the cake, as you would say. You know, that's where we are right now. But the course was always, you know, it's not something that Desperado hasn't gone through. We have been going through it for a number of years. So the course is normal for us.
You know, so much emphasis is placed in terms of, through the years, in terms of the position the band performs in on final night. When I look at the draw, clearly Desperados is performing
Right where you want to be.
at position number 8. That's in the late half of the draw, right? Right after you would be, you know, your rivals in terms of number of titles won, All Stars, not immediately after, but All Stars was performing in position 10. When I carried a conversation with Smooth, as we popularly and famously call him, he is quite comfortable with the placement of performing virtually in the latter half of the draw. You're saying that you're quite comfortable where you are. Do you think the
That's right.
position you're playing affects would have a say in terms of how the judges interpret you?
Well, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say that when you take it at a start. If you check your statistics, Barnes, who was placed first, has won Panorama on many occasions. So, but it's just where the warmth of the panorama is, where the meat of the panorama is, and everybody enjoys playing long inside of there.
In the preliminaries, you scored 270 points, and Exodus was at 278, so there was an 8-point gap. When we look at the semi-final round, your points tally stood at 275 points, and Renegades were 282. So in terms of the gap, it's a 7-point gap. Over the years, so much emphasis is placed on bridging that gap between your points gap at the semi-final level. How do you feel about a 7-point gap that separates yourself from Renegades? Do you clearly it's just numbers, because we've seen in the past where I remember very fondly Exodus bridging a 22-point gap on Renegades in years gone by and won. So points is just an indicator. It's not the be all and say all. So how do you feel about bridging that gap on final night? That 7-point gap that you have to.
Well, the 7-point gap is not even a thought in our point because of what you just said. In 1980, All Stars covered 70 and a half points and beat Desperados with early days. So 7 points. I mean, the big bands, those study 7 points. I mean, we understand the game. As I was just saying, we talking about the process. But all the bands who on top of it knows the process, and they have the way of doing the process. So 7 points for any big band is not really, it's nothing really. All the bands around that area who understand how to win. See, people, they have to understand how to win. All the bands who have that knowledge, no 7 points is no big deal. So that's how it is.
Well, Desperados Steel Orchestra has won 12 Panorama titles, placed second on 6 occasions and third on 9 occasions. That track record in itself speaks volumes. It's clearly a recipe for success that you've built through the years. How do you feel about the current crop of arrangers? Your arranger, Carlton Xander Alexander, has been in the business for some time. When I look at the results you all got with him, he progressed in the first year from third into second place. Then you won in 2020, and then we had the break in terms of the COVID situation. Clearly,
2016, he won on debut with Desperados, 2016.
Right.
And 2020. As a matter of fact, he may have the best 5 record, arguably the best 5-year record in Panama history, with two first, 2 seconds, and a third.
Right.
I'm not sure of that, but I am paying that stuff around in my head right now.
No, you're correct. 2016 he came first, and then 2017 second with Good Morning, 2018 third with The Year for Love, 2019 second with Iron Love, and 2020 first with More Soca. So in terms of that 5-year span, clearly he's been in the top 3 in that 5-year cycle. My question is simply this: you are a seasoned member and a drill master for your orchestra. I'm just asking you to comment on the trend now in terms of you would have made observations as to your competition, the Duvon Stewarts, Dante Pantin, young arrangers arrangers who would have been, they don't have a track record like you all have in terms of 15, 20, 25 years in the business. Do you see the music as changing, or we are currently in a transition in terms of musical choices? Or do you see, how do you see the music progressing in terms of panorama music and songs of choice? Because when I examine the songs that I just called there, in terms of Xander's record, the music that you chose was not songs that have been pulled from the past, like 20, 15, 20 years ago. We would have seen Renegades last year take Black Man Feeling to Party. We are seeing other bands making choices that they're pulling from that genre of music that would have been 20, 15 years ago. You all have clearly stayed contemporary with the song of choice. How do you feel the music has been changing? Do you think it's an arranger thing? Or do you think that Xander has been able to evolve with the times and take contemporary music and tailor make it for your band?
Well, you hit the 2 points. One, the music will change. Everything does. You know, the only thing constant is time. Um, I try to understand what part of the question to answer first, because where Xander is concerned, Xander is the one who actually made that change in Panama in 2016 when he went that way, and he has been able, to take that type of music and do magic, do wonders with it. Some of the younger arrangers are doing it now, and we would see from 2016 some of the older arrangers has dropped off for the race. Now, nothing is wrong with that. My concern about the young arrangers not even the young arrangers, and I'm talking about music in Trinidad and Tobago, is the way how we are. I only hope, I should say, I only hope that the youths of Trinidad and Tobago who are into music and into arranging will try the best to understand the generals of the past. But you see the knowledge we're gone, if that is left to be wasted, and we continue on where we just singing on a beat, or we just playing a two-chord thing, or we just doing this and we just doing it, and we understand the full fundamentals, we are not sure it further away from us to the outside world, because they are not playing with it. When we sit down here and doing too little, the outside world is doing plenty more things. I remember in a festival I told someone, the Panama went 1357, a festival, Trinidad, and 2468, the US. Now let's check that. That was something when Bugsy won the thing. So we have to be careful what we're doing and making sure we preserve our culture in the right way, and do without way. Now the young arrangers tends to be doing more for presentation. I see one when not kickboxer, right? So that, I mean, for me at my age group, that is taking that a bit too far. I mean, I got somebody with to do with the water, but today I wouldn't do that. But I'm not gonna condemn for nobody. I'm just drawing reference. I shouldn't even say I don't think an arranger of the yesteryear will make that move. So yeah, let's try to be careful. But those guys are good, and I am not taking away nothing from them. Those guys are really good, and it's a good thing for Trinidad and Tobago and the culture. But the rest of the what we care about this stuff and make sure that we preserve the culture in the right way, send the right message. That is the right thing about it.
So, Mr. Edwards, thank you so much for explaining that to our listening audience. So, I'm a great admirer of Xander. Personally, I think his arrangements are very sophisticated, particularly in harmonization. I think it's in a league of its own. That's just my personal opinion. So, to speak to what you just spoke about, if we are to preserve the heritage and the legacy of the arrangers of the past, what should we be doing to help this new generation, this younger generation of players, arrangers, drill masters? What should we be doing that we're not doing?
and probably the proper channels of how do we get the information to them. Now, we have so many young arrangers who come up now and they are going through UTT, so they have an avenue to get that knowledge. I don't know if UTT studies or the grades of Trinidad and Tobago ever studying Mozart in the music program who they study. But I am saying that we have to find some systematical way to study the Book G Sharp and the Bradley and the Leon Food and all the great what is going to go on with Rodney's work. That's a whole thing by itself. You see, once these guys go on and we leave all these things to go to waste, and it will only be us. It would only be Trinidad and Tobago doing that.
Right.
So the thing is, how do we get it? How do we get it to the universities to spread it? How do we get it? How do we get workshops into the Panyard for the young arrangers who are not going to tea and who are just in the Panyard? How do we get that knowledge over to them? Those are the kind of logistics that we have to go through in order to get the content to be listened. For we to reach them, we may not be able to reach everyone. I mean, UTT may not be able to reach everyone, but we, the fraternity and everybody, we have to reach them and make sure everybody has a chance.
Right. So UTT obviously cannot reach every young generation musician. I mean, it is a relatively small university. It's a relatively small music program. People working, they have families. They may not have the time to go, say, study there and spend 4 years doing a degree. So I know that privately, I don't want to call the name, but I know there is a musician who is trying to codify arrangements of the past of the great arrangers from the 80s and 90s, you know, all the people that you have mentioned. They're trying to codify it and write it down because, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of arrangements today, some of them are not actually written out exactly how it's performed. Now, which is a shame because once it's gone, once the panorama gone, that all that knowledge has gone except for the players who drilled it and who played it. And then in 5 years, they may not remember, okay, this bridge, I don't remember exactly. I remember there was a modulation here, but I don't remember exactly how we got to F major. So do you think that this is something that falls on the leadership of Pan Trinbago? We need to codify and document all the arrangements for Panorama so that we build a library so that people who come after us can go back. I mean, they'd have to obviously be able to read a score, but if you could go back and say, here's the score of this arrangement in 2024 that won the Panorama, we can see exactly what this arranger did and learn from that. What are your thoughts about that?
That is exactly what I'm speaking about. But then where do at this point, where do a young arranger go to get that done? I am not in UTT. Where do I go to get an assessment of one of Bradley's songs? Say I like Rebecca, and I want to get an assessment of Rebecca and how Bradley do it. Where do the young arranger go and do that? And that is what I'm talking about. These are the things in the papers. It doesn't only fall on Pan Trinbago, it also falls on the band. If a band wants to grow too, a band has to also try and make those moves. You know, they might have the resources, but they could seek. And I'm sure that just the way how you were talking, I'm sure that if people seek, they would find, you know, because there are people like you, Mr. Tanu, who is talking right now, Dr. Richard. I'm sure that we'll be able to get together. If we put all the good heads together and lock in, you know, and make it better for Trinidad and Tobago, you know.
Okay. I want to ask you a question which is a bit controversial. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to.
Well, this is Carnival, but we would expect at least one controversial question.
All right. So, with the exception of the tenor pan, which is generally laid out similarly for most bands, why is it in 2024 all the pans in all sections are not yet standardized? What is the advantage of having completely standardized pans, do you not think that the whole industry will move forward at lightning speed if people could just move to another country and play on different pans because they were invited to perform, but they can't go because they can't afford to transport their pans because the pan is not standardized?
But as far as I remember, I had done a program with Miss, I might sound old, with Miss Bacchus. I remember she named Miss David Bacchus. And that was done in conjunction with the Standardization Bureau. And we had standardized, well, I know for sure for the schools that standardized from a certain section from the 6 base to the 4 pounds to the tenor base, second pound, but the second pound is more or less standardized, the tenor pound, fourth and fifth. The only problem we had was the base, where the base, some people use the F and C, the fourths, and some use the fifth, and we went with the fifth. So more or less, the standardized steel band, what people call the replica, is more or less standardized, to my understanding. I'm not sure if that was set in writing in a Bureau of Standards, but I think they had done something and standardized the from the tenor pound down.
Okay, so are you saying that if Despers was playing in a panorama and we told you you could not take your pans, you had to play on All Stars pans, could all your players go and play that competition, the
Right.
on All Stars pans?
Well, that is different than standardization. You are talking the band itself as standardization. Now, there are two things with that. There's an advantage with that and there's a disadvantage. Now, All Stars style of tenors was from Coca. They had a totally different tone, just as Tokyo. If you hear Tokyo tenor pan and you hear in All Stars tenor pan, you know Coca style. Desperados had Booty Marshall style, and you can tell their styles anyway. Same thing with Invaders. When you hear Invaders, you can hear Invaders have to call Booty Man had a tone. My take with bringing all the bands to fourth and fifth is okay for standardization, but is it okay for the identity of the band? That was my take on it. So all the bands would not be standardized in terms of the group of instruments that are good, but the second panels, All Stars use mainly fourth and fifth now. That is standard. That is Renegades use Desperados use mainly fourth and fifth. You know, we have our third style, but it's in a minimum. So it is more or less gradually getting there, because remember all the players that are coming to the steel band now is not from the community but more from the schools, and the school bands are more or less standardized. So when they come, they're more comfortable playing the band again. So the bands are more or less going to that. So Desperados players, I'm not sure of All Stars bass style, but I know they could go and play the double second, they could go and play the tenor, and probably double tenor, the guitar. Probably some bands play the same guitar, but they have the left side and the right side. You know, so it's more or less standardized. But I don't know, I'm not sure about All Stars. I think All Stars may use C and F or something like that. I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. I want to ask you a question, since you are such a veteran in this field.
I have a little yes.
I just wondered if there are certain keys that are more conducive for panmen to play in rather than other keys. So, for example, are they equally comfortable in every key, or when you arrange for a steel band, would you gravitate to a few specific keys?
That you're talking about the arranger himself. Well, correct. In my field, before I do arrange as well, I do that. If I have to, if I can't speak for Xander, how Xander will pick his keys. But according to where the tuner is, I think the arranger will pick keys to suit the key in. Now, if it is in a key that he doesn't prefer, let's say some arrangers don't like to work in C sharp and F sharp and those keys, they may shift it as semitone down and go to the G or the C or the F, you know. But and then they would work the keys that will work good with that keys. I find in steel band the keys that seem to work good is all the keys in F major. For some reason, all the keys in F major seems to sound up nice. That is in my experience. That is my opinion. So It doesn't say that if you go to A major is a nice key on pan, B flat is a nice key on pan, C, G, all the keys in B flat seem to stand up nice. No, but that is experience. I mean, that is my taste. That is experience on my taste. You know, and
Right,
if
right. You're the first person that I've heard actually. Sorry,
huh?
you're the first person I've heard say that F major stands up well. So, would you say that pan players don't like anything higher than, let's say, F sharp major and beyond, or D
Panman
flat?
plays in Panman plays in any key. You give up any key, you give up Panman. Yeah, them boy out there well played. Panman is trouble. It's more the arrange just be studying keys. It's more the
Right.
arrange just be studying that is more logistics. You know, how would I shift from this key? How would I do that? How would it sit down on the pan? The pan man is studying that, the arrange is studying that. How this
Right.
key sit down on the pan with the, you know, and these things, you know. So
Okay.
that more yeah. You give the palm man Mary a little lamb in any key, he's gonna give it to you, and you give it to 13 key, put it in 13 key too.
Right. So I could give somebody something in B flat minor and it's no problem.
No, not a player. The player isn't studying B flat minor and all he's studying is notes. when you go on a B flat minor, he is studying B flat, and all them. He's studying that. He is studying notes, hand position, notes position, and he gone.
Right. I see what you're saying. Okay. That's very interesting. Okay. Farid?
Before Farid comes on, there's a question here by one of our the people on the comments list here, and they're asking the folks at Desperados. I'd like to know how having their brand new pan home affected the psyche of the players. Is the brand new home for Desperados affecting the psyche of the players?
Well, it will. I mean, you know, after moving around for some years, and now you have somewhere to know you don't have to move. It will. It is a positive feel. You know, it's a more comfortable feel, and it gives you a momentum to move on and do more things. But I think the person who should really answer is the manager of the band, because so many players feels good, but the manager should be able to pick up it and give you a little one.
As Curtis stated, yes, the new facility brings a joy to the players. For the past 5 years or so, we've been moving, around Port of Spain, trying to get settled. And this year, I could say that the players they're actually enjoying the atmosphere of the Panyard and what the Panyard actually offers to the players. So yes, it's very nice that we have a new home to practice in, and we're going full force on Saturday.
Okay, thank you so much, Farid.
Yeah. Mr. Edwards, I have a question. When we look at the, you would have received comments from the judges. How constrained do you feel and affected by the judges' comments when you're preparing the band moving forward? Because it has been said before by, I can even say Len Buxisha. He had said in previous years that sometimes what you hear, if you listen to what the judges' comments and you follow what the judges say, what you may find happening on a final night is you're really hearing what the judges want to hear in terms of their comments may so influence the band that the band may change its music or change the direction and infuse so much change that the band is not playing what the band wants to play. The band is playing what the judges want to hear because you want to win. How do you interpret judges' comments when you're preparing your band, Desperados?
Well, what Bugsy just told you there, what you just said that Bugsy said is off of experience. Bugsy is not saying something that he doesn't know what he's speaking about. So, I am of the same view. I go through score sheet, but if I go through a score sheet and something isn't hitting it for me, I just go. But I am looking for the judges who is telling me something that I didn't know. You know, that they need to hear or something, but I'm not going to overdo it. If I have it inside there, I'm not going to overdo it. I had an experience playing in Panama, and it was 1986. I talked about that. That sent me back to books. He said back to 1986. And we do that Panama too, and we get that score sheet. Same thing. Minor too short. That's Paragon and minor. No, we come in Panama, one star beat us in Panama. We was running second in Panama, also running 7. We are not running 7, also in Panama. So you have to know what to listen to. Even outside, even people looking for you, in anything, you have to know what to listen to. You know, if it's maybe just give comments, you have to go through the comments, you have to respect the opinion, but you still have to be the creator. And like what Bugsy talking about, Bugsy is not going to change his music to please them because he had to feel comfortable with what he's doing. He's a creator, and it's coming from inside of him. They were telling them something to do something that he didn't feel, he ain't going to do it. But he's not going to, as I feel he would say, he's not going to spoil his tune. You understand? But you see, it's his work. You know, so according to how deep you go in the comments, he would not go down there. I think all the big bands understand that. Don't feel all the big bands will take everything that I just tell them, but they will take the things that they feel is most important to them.
Thank you for explaining that. So I have a philosophical question. So, you know, we are all artists. Musicians are artists, right?
That's right.
Should we be pandering for marks, or should we just be expressing our vision?
That's right.
You know, I've taught for many years, and I always used to say to my young students, the audience cannot envision what you envision. They can't. You are the artist. You have to present what you feel, and whatever happens, happens. That's my philosophy. Some people may not like it. People don't like things that are different, things that are not, for our former guest said, people like what no, right? So a lot of bands might pander to a popular tune because people know it, because they think that's going to win the competition. It may not be the best tune for your ideas or your vision of what you can create out of it. I wondered if you could speak to that.
Sure. But what is a good tune and what is a bad tune? I always believe once the arranger loves something, if it is maybe a little lamb, he should be able to put it over. You know, and we, but since in Desperados, I know we try our best to give our arranger as much freedom as possible in picking a song, because it's only he, as you just said, Doctor, he is the one that's painting that picture. You understand? And we try to give as much leverage in that way. So when the tune is picked, he is more or less him. It's more or less up to him to carry it, because it would have been more or less his choice that to go with the song. Picking a wrong tune, I don't know if there's really something that called a wrong tune or a right tune. I think that the artist is so wide and complex that certain arrangers could take any song, but they take high mass. Anybody that thought of taking high mass and going to a panorama, you know. So I don't know if there's a right or wrong song. He take a sacred aesthetic and push it in a secular movement and win the panorama. People was that simple, but that is a big thing for me. You know, I asked him before he went and said, "Brad, is the speed you go and play the song?" There is no points for speed. And he went and won the panorama. That's what the artist painting a picture is only he could tell the true story and show it to us. And then we have to say, yes, and appreciate it. We can't condemn. You see, and that's the problem that we have here. We can't condemn what an artist do and say is bad or good, because we can't paint the picture that he paints. We give all the artists the same color paint, the same color brush, the same everything, and tell them paint that. Paint the same thing. It can't come out the same. Because about inner and spirit. And that's what Bimsy was talking about as well, when he said that he's not going to spoil the show or whatever it is, you know. So it seems like that the artist is an inner thing. So in his mind, he could never be wrong, because what he's doing is we feel, you know, he bringing an emotion. You know, he think that song could bring me one. He might be wrong in other people's mind, but in his mind, he come like scientist Albert Einstein. You gotta tell me wrong when he going faith. He plays ball and he says, "Oh God, we could fix all the mistakes we make." He studied fire and he could fix all the mistakes that he done before. And it's things like that I believe creators live by. You know, creators live by the spontaneously. You know what is happening now, what they could do with the sea. We bring in artists are bringing abstract to reality to people. When a man take a melody for a Panama song and bring it to 8 minutes and have people, wow. That's a picture he bring and paint in his own way, and you have to respect it. You can't like it and anything. So that's my take about it on wrong tune and right tune, because I really don't think it have any wrong tune or right tune. I just think the arranger just need to pick this picture right once it picks it.
Gentlemen, we're moving into
Thank
the
you for
final
that.
5 minutes.
Mhm.
We're moving into our final 5 minutes. I have a question right at home with you all, Mr. Edwards. Clive Bradley once said that drilling a band, a drill master, 20% of the work is drilling, and the next 80% is managing personalities, managing the emotions of the players, managing the minds of the players. So your job as a drill master is a difficult one, your job. When I'm in the yard all the time, I walk around and I look at the personalities in your band. You have a lot of youths and you have senior players. When I look at somebody like Pinky, and you have to manage, he puts a lot of emotion into what he's doing, and you observe the players next to him, it's a different kind of emotion. So you're dealing with different human beings. You can't dictate to a player how to express himself, because he himself is an artist. He has a talent. He has to execute the music of the arranger. He has to interpret the mind of the driller in terms of what the driller wants. So it's a marriage of the arranger, the drill master, and the players. Your job as the go-between is a difficult one. You have to manage egos, personalities, and you have to know how to talk to people to get the best out of them or to get something out of them. How do you go about picking your numbers, narrowing down your players to a certain number? Because I'm sure the allotment that you have to choose from, 120 players are going to be left out. Then you have to manage. You know players that can actually express what you want to execute. What is that process of that a driller goes through there? How do you manage that? What is the science you use?
Well, as you say, it's knowing 150 different personalities, and you really have to know them, and you have to. I ain't talking about, you have to know exactly what they're feeling. I mean, after Julian Desperados was sitting among the, you can watch a player and know exactly where he is, where his thought is, where his mind is, watch his body movement and know. I mean, a drill master have to know all these things. The process of elimination is really more or less on the players, because the best, it's like a football team. You will play your best 11 players, and I think it's the same thing with the steel man. The player, they will look for the players who really hit the net. We try not to disappoint our youths. Once a youth could make it, let them play, because we know that this thing is not going to stay with us forever, with our generation, and we got to pass it on. So, like all 2016, we had about 5 or 7 from Lamantil who was under the U.S. with Desperados. They won the first Panama about 15, 16 or somewhere around there. So that's something that's been going on Desperados for years, And the thing is, we are more family. So players who get left out don't get it. They made the whole season. So again, you go to a final. It doesn't mean that they wouldn't get your uniform and everything. But you have to understand that it's only.
We seem to be struggling with some connectivity.
The best allotment could do, And yes, it's these players will come back to the same man next year, or they didn't play the year before. So yeah.
Great. Like this.
Richard, do you have any? I want to give you the last question, Richard.
Okay. Lyndon.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Mr. Quasimo is part of your bass section?
Yes.
Yeah, what an amazing player. Please give him my regards.
I will.
Yeah.
In closing, tell us something in closing. What is the secret to Desperados? What is the secret to Desperado's consistency through the years? What is the secret to your consistency through the years? You've managed. What is the secret to your success over the years? You've managed, no matter what, through the years, to be right there with everyone. And the flavor of Desperados hasn't changed. It's a song that you all have that's unique.
It's breaking up. But let me hear the whole question.
No, I'm saying, what's the secret to your success? Desperados as a sound, they've maintained a level of consistency through the years. What do you think is your secret?
Well, we have a serious community to live up to, you know. You wouldn't like a DV lab until people after Panama and do good, or even during the carnival season. You should come down and hear some of them during the season. Yeah, and they will come and hug you up after when you're done because you're the winter meeting because they do nothing else but coming first. You know, so that is the strength, that is the power. We have a fiery bunch behind our tails. You know, so we have to keep the action going. Our song comes from the structure that we love jazz at the left. 6 bands and different instruments. And some bands use them though, but I think our song more or less come from the and how we go about doing the final showing and going about all these different things. We are now trying to get back to that process in a big way because you know all our master tuners that's gone, which is Booty Marshall and things. So we are in the process of putting them into, but it's working. You know, it's working right now still for us, and it just goes to show how good these guys are done for big bars. I mean, Desperado still moves on the structure of Without Shells. You know, I mean, there's no, we modified to the times, but the structure is still the same. And it's like any big business, Milan Massey or anyone of them who's making it, they ain't changing the structure, they adapt to the times. And Desperado has just done that. We ain't moving. We're not leaving, so we just adapt them. As the punches come, we adapt to the punches.
Desperados, thank you so much for making yourself available. Mr. Edwards, Mr. Spencer, it's been a privilege sharing with you all, and thank you for being who you all are, and keep up the good work. Best wishes in the finals on Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Most thank you.
Best wishes.
Thank you, Doc.
Yes, best wishes to Desperados also from Power 102 Digital. And thank you, Mr. Gentlemen. That's it for today's edition of Hard Talk with host Fareed Ali, and we'll be chatting with executives of Massey Trinidad All-Stars and the Desperados Steel Orchestra. Until the next one, that's it for today.
The future of talk is here. Power 102 Digital.